Hello everyone, this is Dawn and I'm here just to share a video I've been guided to speak to today. It is February the 24th, 2026. And I'm just going to share a little bit about what I see as really important for us to address right now in our society. I've spoken about this before, and I'm going to give you a little bit more of my own personal background and story so that you might understand, kind of where I'm coming from on a personal level, because my intention in sharing these videos has always been to connect heart to heart, soul to soul. I can, of course, as everybody, get tripped up by my own, mission and purpose, which is changing, but and speak a little bit too much from my mind or ego at times, but my intention always has been to just be kind of a human on the journey in my experience, sharing from my heart and soul, sometimes in particular ways on particular topics, and other times in more general ways. And in my own personal life, so I felt like, I'm in a place, I moved here, my father died in December of 2024, I think, yep. And so beginning of 25, I had to, make a quick move, and my choices were limited for some strange reason, story of my life, like didn't make sense at all. But in any case, I ended up in a place that I was like, what am I doing here? Place that my mother was born in this region, but we didn't really come back. We came to visit every now and then, once a year sometimes, but I always knew, and it's hard to know how to say this, and I don't want to get really in the weeds, and I also don't want this to be an hour-long video, but in any case, I ended up here, didn't know why, and I am going to save the details for a different space if I choose to share those. But, it was a difficult year, 2025. Some really betrayals that kind of like I would call them small betrayals, but, they were betrayals nonetheless, and on an emotional level. And they shocked me after my father's death. And so I spent the spring just trying to recover from that, and really into the summer. And I was on, a good healing trajectory and this new kind of level. Been on a healing journey my whole life. Seems to be like, for most of us, right? The point is to really learn to love ourselves wholly and completely, and to see whatever shadow aspects are there, and to, meet those, and eventually to reconcile within us. And so that has been, always my intention, the greater intention being love and my passion for life itself, and the story of life that is alive within us no matter what. And that's really the central thing I'd want you to take away from this video, is that was the only thing that saved me from the same corruption and depravity and lostness that I saw in certain systems, and then later in individuals and groups nearer to me in my own experience. And it's not to say that I haven't had moments of corruption. Certainly we all do. But I was aware of these, kind of at the time, they seemed very strange to me, like patterns, because I can see behind, that's one of my gifts, is to see the patterns behind what, and usually in big systems. Actually, I'm much better at it in big systems than I am in my own life, for kind of obvious reasons. So I moved down here. I was back on track, and was feeling, when I came back from some travels in the summer, July, I guess it was, something just immediately felt off when I came back. And it was like this feeling inside I get since I was a child. So I was a I lived through. I don't want to say I was a victim. I mean, I guess technically I was, but I lived through satanic ritual abuse and repeatedly. And also, there's something that's being played out behind the scenes right now, and I don't know the facts, actually. I don't know the facts, so I won't say anything to speculate here, but just to say that all my life I have carried this deep and profound connection to past life scenarios and to God, very closeness. And that's I call it, my faith, and that again, it goes back to that spirit of life. And it is what has sustained me. So I did have memories of those events, which happened mainly in this area where I ended up back at, which I've healed kind of like, okay, so I did that healing. Honestly, I'd never spoken about it, not even to my very best friend who I spoke to about everything, the man I married and divorced twice. But he was always, through all of that, my very, very best friend. And I spoke about related abuse that was related to that experience, but not the full extent, because I had gone through a lot of therapy in my 20s, and then done kind of continued on my healing journey in various ways all the way. I'm 61, so long time, and I've just felt like that it was being worked out within me, and so it didn't really come up a lot for me. And so back to July, August, and did some travels. I came back and something was off, and it was like, oh no, it's happening again. Not the abuse or anything, but I could tell people were watching. And, I'm talking surveillance and hacking and gang stalking, and, some of it was more obvious. And this has happened repeatedly in my life. I always have assumed it was a specific thing related to a specific thing in my past that's way back, decades older by now, and I tried to just ignore it. But recently, it has come into my awareness that it is much bigger than that, and that it involves many people who I love very much. And at first, so July I came back, I knew something was off, but I'm like, okay, you can get through this. I was still in my strength, and really all the way through November. And then it became more obvious. Something, my intuition was like, well, this is like things spinning. Okay, so I feel like I'm spinning all the time anyway. I don't know what that's about, but then it was like things spinning around me, and like I can't describe it, because I experience things. First of all, I'm very I guess claircognizant, so I'm psychic, if you want to use that word, but I'm aware again of the patterns and the feelings and the intentions that don't match what seems to be happening. So I became very aware of that late fall, but I was in a really strong place, and then something just knocked me off in December, and it hasn't been publicly revealed, so I'm not going to say that here, but I knew what it was, and it was so disturbing to me, because the energy of it was the energy of what I survived miraculously. And if you want to know about that, I've been processing through my poems. It's what I do. So you can find my poems from my website, and watch those if you want. But when I became aware of that, I realized also that there was something dropped in from spirit. Like I was meant. And it became obvious also due to me visiting my grandmother's grave after being here so long. And I didn't want to, because of the memories I had of her of her passing that they were not pleasant ones to me. I loved her very much, but yeah, I won't go into that either, but it is related. And so when I went to her grave that day, the winds just like, it was one of those experiences that I have, just undeniable, excuse me, undeniable kind of convergence of the energies from the earth. And it's almost like from the underworld and above and the earth. So it's like everything converged like rapidly, and then there's I can't describe it, whatever. There's like a turning in me. And so I knew like, whoa, something huge just happened. Like I'm on a different timeline now, completely different trajectory. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all, because the energy that I had sensed in December, this was in January when I visited her grave, the 9th, I believe, and which interestingly coincides with something else that is a related energy but totally separate events from 30 years ago. So anyway, I didn't put that together until a couple of days ago. But in any case, so this happened, this experience, and I was immediately shown a bunch of things that I, probably just didn't want to know about. How, while I haven't been victimized with physical, manipulation or abuse, at least not to my awareness, I have very much, the same energy has been at play, and I don't think, I always do my energetic protection, but I don't think I was at all aware of the extent until that day when I visited her grave. And so the energy that I had sensed, what I realized that day was the energy that I had sensed in December, which had probably been there a lot longer, was actually the same frequency of the energy that I experienced as a child in this horrific situation that I survived miraculously, that others did not. I remember when I was a child, I have a poem about this, like, conjure up dragons and unicorns and little fairies and try to somehow save everybody else. It was really difficult, but to just stay with the story now, the energy that I sensed at play, like in all these situations, it was the same frequency. And I don't guess I had ever felt that or realized it so close to me. I have seen it in the larger systems, and I've spoken to that. And so it was a shock to my system that how could that be so close to me and me not be aware? It was almost like a moment of, oh my gosh, how could I possibly not have known this? Because, and then I was thinking about the surveillance and the tracking and the, hacking and all of that, and the gang stalking, which I ignored because I was like, I'm not going to play into that. And I realized that all the other places I've lived, times when I've experienced that, which is a lot, it's a lot, I never put it together with this larger energy that was perhaps connected to all of it. I did, of course, realize that it was, if you want to use positive and negative, that it was a lower frequency, that it wasn't well-intentioned. But what I want to speak to here is that as I've moved through this, it's been very difficult, still in the process of it, but I'm doing all right and doing what I can, listening to my intuition and navigating. I would much prefer to just be, whatever. Okay, not dealing with it personally, but I am. And, really, honestly, my life is the teaching. Your life is the teaching. And what has become crystal clear for me is that all these people, many whom I have loved dearly, that are potentially involved. And all those people that I never used to understand when I was a child either, because it's like some of the people that would be involved in, like after a certain event, then they would like literally be at a picnic laughing. And I always knew, even as a small child, because I had that inner knowing that this was not normal, like, right? But what I guess what I'm trying to say is the pervasiveness of this manipulated energy, I'm going to call it, that it begins to run rampant in lives, individual lives, in circles, in groups, in societies, in the world, And yes, there are some offenders that are like, have been, completely converted to the dark side, if you will, and are, completely manipulative. And, it's easy to just like look at that one person and say they're the issue. But the thing that we need to be really paying attention to here is the systemic things that are going on that have allowed this, what I have made other videos about on the culture of collusion. And those energies are what I have like seen in a new light. And it became clear, that, okay, I've always been here to hold, my own light in life and love, and to share it as much as I'm able. And that's what has helped me to survive not only the childhood ritual abuse, but also the challenges that I've had through my adult life, some related to the aftermath of that. And issues with identity, over and over and over again in a variety of ways. Someday I'll make a list for you and share it. But this energetic aspect of what had been happening all along, I suddenly stepped back. I stepped close because it was close to me, and I was like, I couldn't fathom it. It just was like, I don't understand how anybody could sustain that level of a lie, and then how a lot of groups and people, it was like, what is going on here? And it became clear to me that, there was in January when I visited my grandmother's grave. That was interesting. Okay, anyway, it became clear to me that there was something generational here. It was no accident that I was here. I mean, I already knew that, of course, but anyway, so it became clear that being that anchor is the gift that we offer. And so this really is what I'm trying to say here is that we should never ever doubt the impact and influence that our own healing and attention to day to day, and we make mistakes and we get up and we lose our light and we reclaim it, and we act in a way that is not aligned with the whole of who we are, and we acknowledge it to ourselves, and we seek to, again, reclaim what is ours, release what is not, and eventually to rise into the radiant realization of who we are as light and life and love. But it requires work. It is the work of our lives is what has the capacity to break, yes, generational curses, and yes, to break us being locked in to such an unpleasant experience, either in our personal lives or just like in collectively. But it's more than that. The energetic component of all of this is something that we need to be very, very mindful of and very aware of. And we got to do the hard work of pulling the weeds. And as we are collectively pulling the weeds, the root of this thing, and by the way, I do want to point out, this is a spiritual war, okay? It's a war for our hearts, the heart of humanity, and it is spiritual in its nature. So the way we do that is to remain steadfastly devoted to our own healing the best we can, to begin, well, also, what I would also say there is it's essential that we not lose hope, because it looks pretty hopeless. Okay, personal example, because my life is the teaching. Obvious things that I would do, of course, are go find safety, do my spiritual practices, go talk to the law enforcement, to legal authorities, go seek out solutions, follow my freedom, right? And sometimes in certain situations where this energy is really concentrated, as I believe it might have been around me, it can feel like a complete barriers at every turn and a lockdown. And that is intentional by the spiritual warfare that is happening beyond. Some of the individuals caught up in this have literally lost their minds, as in they are driven by this malicious energy that because of their own choices to open the door, often knowingly, thinking they're just having fun, but sometimes, because they themselves were compromised. I think I lost my thread there of, that it's super important, I think, to what that energy itself and a spiritual level wants, or you could say it's the bad aliens, or you could say it's, the elite, or you could say it's a lot of things. And, I have my own opinions about what that is, but that's really irrelevant, because whatever it is, whatever the source of it is, what it wants is for you and me to feel hopeless, to feel trapped, to feel as if there are no options. And I did the right things, have in the past also done the right things, and there has not been help. Why? Because those very systems are corrupted, because individuals within those systems have lost their own connection to who they are, to what matters most. They lost their own hope. And what that energy wants is for us to feel absolutely abandoned, without hope. And also to cut our connection to anything that is light and life and love, that is the wellspring of hope that we see in the natural world, that we find in the better moments among each other when we open our hearts. Not always, but it is there. And that's where we are. That's where we are collectively, partly because of what we've lived through in the last, 5 years in particular, but I would say it has been, hundreds and thousands of years. And there's deception underneath, right? There's deception underneath that's happening. So I think what I want to just leave you with, I'm going to share a link to a blog post of somebody I recommend that you follow, whose thinking on this is, pretty much aligned with mine. Not entirely, but that's always the case. And so I'm going to share that blog post and a poem that I wrote about a specific aspect of this. And I really want to encourage you. I want to leave you with three things. First, if you have in any way, shape, or form experienced this in your own life, please get the support that you need. There are people there for you. Reach out. Do the hard work of your healing. It is going to be hard. It is going to require you to make choices that seem unsurvivable at times. But you can do it. And I believe in you. So whatever's happened, that is not you. Second thing, which is related, you are light and life and love at your core. And your job here is to heal your heart and soul and to cultivate essence from the matrix of soul that is the true matrix, not the false one that we're all caught up in at times. And to allow that to wrap you in its love and to lift you. And together we will rise into a realm of radiance. And so the second aspect is to be on your healing journey every day, to do the best you can in that day, and to forgive yourself for any mistakes you've made and the mistakes you will make on the way, because you will. I do continually. And you got to find that grace and that peace and healing that is there for you. And it will be there for you. It will meet you. Life itself will rise up to meet you if you take a single step. And you can do that. And the third thing is that I really believe we are at a juncture in the unfolding story of life and of what it means to be human, that we're going to need to do the hard work. Yes, as much as I would like, this channel is called Dawn of the New Earth. And what I would prefer is to usher in the new earth with all the beautiful things. And I think I'll have that opportunity. But the beauty and the wonder and the mystery that I stand for, and the love. And the love that is the very foundation of all things that are good and true. However, because this energetic signature has run, false energetic signature has spread to the degree that it has, and has compromised so many of us, some of us in very debilitating ways, and in ways that it can look like people are actually excelling when they are caught in this. And so this third piece is about how do we heal society and how do we heal collectively? And my contention is that the way we do that is to speak truth where we are strong enough to do so. So it's very important, the order of things. A level of healing must be done first. Not just from like some issue like I have discussed that I have lived through, but it can be little things like where your heart was broken and you shut it down because you were betrayed, or where somebody painted you in a certain light that wasn't true, and so you stopped trying, or all of those things, right? So we have to do that first, and then when we are strong enough, and look for the signs to know this, don't jump into it, but when we are strong enough to come together with others that are like-minded and who care about humans and families and love and communities and generations and our future and our children's future, to come together and to take action that we are able to. Now that can look a lot of different ways. It can look like a little a small number of people gathering to sing and to pray and to meditate and to reconnect to nature So it can be a lot of different kinds of things like that. And it can also be huge movements. So when enough people decide to not feed the monster that this has become, because it is a monster, and it looks like it's personified by one face or one political system or one global group or something like that. But I'm telling you, from my perspective, it is much more pervasive. Much more pervasive. And when we come together in these groups or networks, loose networks, I think they'll be, it's going to be important to share resources and information, and to find ways to extract ourselves from what supports such things. And I do not have the answers of that. I really, truly don't. I've sought to do that in my own life where I was able to, but I myself have still been trapped by various systems that are unfortunately so compromised that they are supporting these kinds of this kind of systemic evil, if you will. And so coming together and sharing more and more and more, speaking our truth where we're able to do that, is going to help. And I myself can't, there are certain things I just can't at the moment. Yeah, I know I'm saying a lot. It's difficult but I knew I had to speak this way to really connect, or to seek to. I hope you can feel my heart. I hope you can feel that, because I had to speak this way, because it's too easy sometimes to speak only from the truth I know, and to stand in that truth and integrity, and to speak it. But I needed to connect with you, whoever you are that's watching this, whoever you are. I don't care if you are, on the younger end of the spectrum and you're in your 20s or something, or if you're, 80. There is always an opportunity. Now is always your next opportunity window. Now. And it's always arriving. And the destination is not perfection. The destination is to love yourself in your imperfection, and to believe in humanity, to believe in the good, to hold fast to faith, hope, love, healing, growth, passion, beauty. Those are the 7 wonders of the soul that were given to me by the angels on my birthday, after a very difficult betrayal in 1997. So what is that? That's a long time. 15, 20, almost 30 years. Do this every day. Do this every day.